Today I would like to look at Prima Custodia, the first guard of 133 manuscript. This guard looks like this in the manuscript, and I was looking for some interpretations of this guard on YouTube, and I have found that almost every interpreter interprets this guard like this. The shield is, well, similar like this. The shield is forward to offer the maximum protection, and the sword is low at my hip. Position like this. It makes a lot of sense to interpret it like this, because this position is known from later sword and buckler systems. So we know that it is like martially plausible. It was already explored. We know how to fight from this position. And it would be logical to look for this position also in 133. So it makes sense to look for, to see this position in Prima Custodia. And this is a good guard. It enables you to do a lot of things. The problem is that the image from the manuscript does not look like that. And this is tricky. It is tricky because we know that the images from the manuscript are not realistic. I have already talked about them. So it would be tempting to say that, well, I see that in the image he has the sword high under the arm, but, well, it is not realistic. In fact, the image is distorted. They wanted to draw it like here. It is tempting to do this. And it would enable you to match the images to what you already know. But I don't believe that this is how the images from 133 work. I am confident that the goal of the painters from 133 was to be as realistic as possible. Or rather, they wanted to convey to you as much information as possible, because the images are a very important part of the manuscript, and in the images there are information that you cannot find in the text. So the images are the important source of information, but the graphical style that they were using is somewhat like schematic. There is no perspective, there is, everything is perfectly like orthogonal, everything is viewed perfectly from the side. So there are limitations to what this style can realistically portray. In the previous video I was talking about a position like this. This position, if drawn absolutely realistically in the style of the manuscript, you wouldn't see in the image the sword at all, because the sword is pointing like in this line, and the only thing you would see from the sword is the pommel here, and all the sword is hidden behind the pommel. So if they drawn this, if they had drawn this this position in their graphical style, you wouldn't see the sword. And if you wouldn't see the sword, then you would lose some information. You would want to know how hands are here, how they are, how it is situated, where is the sword, where it is pointing. You want to know it, and the painters want to tell it to you. But they wouldn't be able to convey this information to you if they would draw absolutely realistically, because you wouldn't see the sword in this position. Now, today, we would probably solve this by adding another picture. You would give the reader picture like this from your point of view, and then you would give them another picture with top-down view, as if you are looking from the top at the situation. And from the top, you will clearly see what is happening here. You will see this thing, this thing. From the top. So from the top you can see the blade, you can see my hands, you will see everything. So you will get two images, and these two images together will give you enough information. But this was not what they did in the manuscript, but they did something similar. They were drawing what they could realistically from their point of view. And some parts that would not be clear from your point of view would be drawn from a different point of view. So they would draw my figure from your point of view, but not my hands, because the hands are not obvious. The position of the hands is not obvious from your point of view. So my hands would be drawn from top-down view. And these two views would be joined in one image. And the image would then look like this, as I have already explained in the previous videos. So the image as a whole is not realistic, because the position looked like this. But you can separate the image in two parts, and each of these parts is realistic. But it is showing the situation from a different point of view. This means that the images of 133 are not realistic. They are distorted. But they are distorted according to pretty defined rules. They did not apply the distortion to anything at their will. It was not like they see the position with the sword down and they say, well, I don't like the sword down, I will draw it up because I like it more. No. They were distorting images, but only according to their rules. And their rules involved only like this turning of planes, like turning of point of views. And only in situations when they wanted to give you a different point of view on the same position. So if they want to show you the sword high under the arm, they would show you a sword high under the arm. And if they want to show it at the hip, they would show it at the hip, because from your point of view, this is clearly distinguishable. There is no need to draw sword here if it is in fact here, because it doesn't give you any more information. They would use this different view only in situations when you might not see what they want you to see. And this brings us back to the Prima Custodia. The images of Prima Custodia are distorted, and I am pretty sure about that. But they are distorted in a, again, pretty defined way. It is good that Prima Custodia is the most basic guard of 133, so we have many images of it. And we have images from both sides, so we can compare them. And you may notice that Prima Custodia is portrayed like this. And from this side of view. And from the other side, it is portrayed like this. From both sides, you see shield in the center and the elbows sticking to the sides. From both sides. So for me, it means that the position does not have the shield on the side, because from this side it would look as in the image, and from this side not. It means that the part of hands and the shield is in fact a frontal view, but it is turned to face the viewer, so that the viewer would see how the position looks from the front. This is the way how to show the viewer what it looks from the front, because it wouldn't be obvious if they were realistic and draw the position like this. We can see the important features of this position. One of which is, well, shield at the center of the body, and the elbows, bent elbows sticking to the sides. This says to me that you should hold your shield close to the body. Not like this, like forward, but close to the body, because this is the way how to make your elbows bent. You can see that this position looks as in the manuscript. I mean, sometimes they have it like this, sometimes like this, sometimes like this, but still you see the same thing. Shield on the center and elbows sticking to the sides, because the shield is close to my body. If it was forward, you wouldn't see my elbows. And the elbows are pretty visible in the image. So they would be important. I am sure they wouldn't draw these elbows, these sticking elbows to the side, if they wouldn't be there. So if they are there, it means that the shield is close to your body. And the third feature is that your sword should be high under the arm. Not at the hip, but high under the arm, because it is clearly shown under the arm, and the arm enclosing the sword, like this. So this is, in my opinion, is Prima Custodia, as it is drawn in the manuscript, and which means as it was in reality. From the different interpretations that can be found on the YouTube, you can see that the interpreters had the feeling that the position should look like this, that it is not this, it should be like high, the sword high and the shield closer. They were trying to incorporate some of these features, but they didn't like this idea. And, well, I can't blame them. I mean, what logic is in enclosing your sword under the arm so that you cannot move it? From position like this, when the opponent attacks you, your sword is free to immediately do whatever. It can do many things. It can go like this, it can go like this, maybe with a thrust. It can do many things because it is free. But if you hold your sword under the arm, the sword is not free. Well, there are ways how to release the sword, and they are described in the I.33. You can do something like this, to raise your elbow and do a cut like this. You may do krukke, like this. There are ways how to bring the sword forward, but there are few of them, and the sword is not free. And if you are to react to your opponent, and the sword is enclosed with your hand, then your reaction will be pretty slow. So I can't blame the interpreters that they don't like having the sword under the arm, like enclosed. But I will offer a different view on the same thing. Let's accept the idea that what we see in the image is true. Then, if I hold the sword under the arm like this, for me it means that by taking this position, I am sort of discarding my sword. I am not going to use it. That is why I am holding it under the arm. Well, I am still holding it by hand, but the sword can be enclosed under the arm, because when the opponent will attack, I am not going to use the sword as my primary tool. By discarding the sword, the shield is becoming my primary tool. The shield is what I am concentrating on now. Sword is discarded, and the shield is what I will react with. So if the opponent attacks, I will use the shield. Now, imagine that I am a Viking warrior or a Celtic warrior. I fight with center grip shield, but large one, and a sword. And I am fighting in a duel, and in the duel I have lost my sword. Now I am only with the shield. What would I do? Well, one of the possible and plausible tactics that I can use is that I can grip the shield with both hands and work with the shield like this. Whenever the opponent attacks me, I will go forward with the shield and hit his blade, which will parry it. So I can do something like this. By holding the shield with both hands, I am sort of better hiding behind the shield. And I don't want my shield to be thrust forward and like static, because, well, it offers me a passive protection, but it is also predictable for the opponent. And that is what I don't want. I want to have the shield close to my body so that I can launch these actions. these attacks, these strikes with the shield, because they are faster and they are less predictable. This position is like loading the strike with a shield. So if I'm starting like this, I am not having a passive protection, but I can quickly and easily do this. And this is how I will fight. And in fact, this is not a bad tactics. For the opponent, it is not easy to overcome this protection. And if you are agile, you are fast, you can move around, you can fight like that pretty long. You don't have a weapon, so you will probably not win, but you can keep yourself safe pretty long. And I believe that exactly this mindset of using the shield as a primary tool to defend is the mindset of Prima Custodia. Well, in Prima Custodia, we are not holding the shield with both hands because we still have our sword. So we are only supporting the shield with the other hand. We are not, not releasing the sword. But it will work the same. I can still do the same things, and the shield will be stable. It will not, I will not be afraid that like a bad strike will do this to my shield, because it is supported with both hands. So this is pretty stable and this is pretty protective, as long as I am able to move around and be active. Now, let's get back to our Viking. He has lost his sword, but he still has a knife. So he may draw his knife. And now, how he will fight? Well, he will probably not fight with the knife as with the sword, because his knife is no match for the opponent's sword. But he might take the knife, maybe like this, and hide it behind the shield. It doesn't mean that he is hiding it from the opponent. The opponent will know that the knife is there. But still, he can use the same tactics as if unarmed. He is not holding the shield with both hands, but there is the support, and he can still do this. But now, he will probably be more aggressive, because he may use his shield to go forward, not only to defend, but to thrust the shield forward, to aggressively take the space and rush to the opponent. You can be aggressive and go forward because, well, usually closing the distance is risky, but you have the shield, and the shield is offering you a lot of protection. You may thrust this protection forward so that you capture the space, and he cannot use the sword like as he would like to do, because he doesn't have the space. And you can quickly take the space, cover yourself, and get close, get like body on body. And when you are close, you then can take your knife and attack. And it would be better because now you are close, and the knife is better than the sword. So there is like a similar mindset, but more aggressive. And I believe that this mindset again applies to Prima Custodia. Because in Prima Custodia, you still have your sword. You have not put it away. So you may be aggressive. You may take the space. You may limit his options. You may rush at him because you still have a tool that can harm him. And, well, you will work differently with your sword than you would with the knife, but the mindset would be similar. Either you are defending by the shield, or you are rushing forward and getting ready to use the sword for attack. So, this is my interpretation of Prima Custodia, and it interpretation that is pretty different from the interpretations that I was able to find on YouTube. I mean, the position is not that different. There is not much difference between this and this. But the mechanics and the mindset that you use in these positions are vastly different. And I believe that this close position with enclosed sword and the mindset of defending with the shield or rushing forward with the shield is exactly what the Prima Custodia of I.33 is about. So that was Prima Custodia, and that's all.